Here's a quick one. Today's episode of Ask a Homeless Person. So I'm saying all this nonsense. At first I accepted it. Now it's getting on my nerves. People, privileged people, trying to dissect the causes of homelessness and what can be done to help alleviate or diminish the rate of homelessness. So what they do is they look at studies, they look at a bunch of studies from usually not each person, not each organization is doing bunches of study. Usually they're looking in 2 or 3 studies and they're making judgments on them. But this group, this organization will look at 2 or 3 studies and evaluate from there. This organization will take 2 or 3 different other studies or some of the same studies and make a conclusion from that. Sometimes the conclusions are the same, sometimes they're different. And they'll be like, oh, low, we need, higher pay. We need more affordable housing. We need more housing. Whatever. We need to treat mental illness. They're looking at all these studies. Do you see the problem here? Glaring problem. Obvious issue with this. Why aren't you asking homeless people why they're homeless? Why are you doing these studies? First thing, what is constituting homelessness? Because I assure you, for a privileged person, being homeless is different than a person who is actually homeless. It means different things. If you ask a homeless person, like, what is homeless to you, it would not be someone who has a roof over their head. A consistent, permanent roof over their head. Somebody sleeping on somebody couch surfing would not be homeless to a homeless person. I know. I've been homeless. That was not homeless to me. Somebody who has to move in with other relatives because they can't afford housing or they need help with physical issues, whatever. They're waiting for their, new residence to get cleaned up so they can move in. That's not homeless. You have a home. Even some staying in a shelter wouldn't necessarily be homeless to homeless people. If you have a roof, even sleeping in a car isn't homeless to a lot of homeless people. You have a car to sleep in. So, I'm going to move this a little bit. So why are they not asking homeless people? What caused you to be homeless? I assure you, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, they might not say it this way, but this is the bottom line. They didn't have enough time to save up enough money in bankroll for when times got tough, things happened, and they could have that extra money to use. They didn't have enough time to build up a savings account, a checking account, extra assets. A lot of people didn't even have time to save up enough for first month's rent and security deposit and background check and all the other stuff needed just to get into the apartment or rental unit, much less the nest egg, the rainy day fund. A lot of people have mental illness and don't suffer from homelessness. These are people who have had the privilege to be able to either co-rent with somebody, live with relatives, living in sort of assisted living or some type of home for people with mental illness or disabilities, or they have had the opportunity, the startup, to where that base build up to where they could live with somebody, work their job until they got enough in savings to where somebody would take, they'd have enough money if they had a relapse of their mental health issue. If they had to go to an inpatient clinic or they had to take some mental health days off just to get themselves mentally, back in a happy place again. Same with physical disabilities, physical issues, whether that be back issues, heart issues, lung issues, prolapse issues. Women have, sometimes they have problems with their menstrual cycle. They may have like really, really painful menstrual cycles, and they might have to take a day or two off a month because the pain's so bad. But if they have a good base, they have money in the bank, they can do that without having to worry about not being able to pay their rent or their car note, being able to afford their food. All these issues that people deal with when they're homeless, and you say, oh, they're homeless because of this. Well, no, because a lot of people are having them same issues and having to do the same things to take care of themselves. The difference is, do they have that build-up, that financial build-up in the bank? Do they have that bankroll to carry them through them tough times? And homeless people, like I said, most of them don't have that. Okay, yes, there are some people that live in areas where the housing is too expensive. They had I've seen documentaries where people are living in their cars and they had lived in houses or apartments or townhomes or condos, and they were doing well, but then the rents kept going up and to the point where they couldn't afford it anymore. Or they got divorced and, with the single income, they could no longer afford the housing in that area, but they worked in that area, so they still need to stay in that area to work, and they just can't afford it, so they live in their car. But that's a small percentage of homeless people. You want to know why people are homeless? Go to Skid Row. Ask them people. Don't sit there and look at stupid surveys. First thing, right, like I told you, what is homeless to a person who's conducting these surveys? And how do they quantify it? I assure you they didn't count everybody in Skid Row. They didn't count everybody in the tent city in Adrian. I don't know. It's just the variables when you're talking about when privileged people